How drunk are you soju boy?
Uh, 2 bottles of soda, and this is nearly finished. So I started drinking since 9, so that is 3
It's been a
hours
few
ago.
hours. Jesus
Yeah, three
Christ.
hours ago. Yeah, it was like lots of talking about like you know kinks and shit, and some people were like, "Oh, I don't understand kinks. Why do people find solace in that beyond?" So we were like talking. I think this is like philosophical discussion about, you know, liberation and sexual release
Your kind of
through
shit.
and my domain and stuff like that. And
Area of expertise.
yeah, and some people were like, "Oh no, I'm just curious about that." So, and they were just talking about dumb shit. So it was fun. Just catching up with internet friends, and there's nothing more fun than that. Just having a group call of like people, and they were just like drinking shit over time. So you know, uh, so I'm
Ooh,
already a little bit
a little
emotional,
bit ready.
a little
You
bit
warmed
ready.
up.
I'm primed for lust, so
We
I can definitely go into the world of
could talk about what you do at the after party.
yeah, love hotels. I feel like I'm not qualified because I've never been to one, so like it's really awkward. We'll figure it out. We've got a couple of stuff here to
Look, the
re-
imagination is all you need.
refer to. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where my thoughts go because I'm already a little bit.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how far you take it.
Yeah, I will definitely put like a warning in the beginning of this episode. So we'll see. Okay, are
Not
you
safe for
ready?
work. Yeah.
This show is not safe for work at all. Like I feel like I just cannot share this show with anyone that knows me for podcasting. And they're like, "Hey, what shows do you do?" I'm like, there's this one show, but you shouldn't know about it." But like,
I'm gonna put it on my Facebook for my family.
Jesus.
Oh my god. I'll say this. I don't care if this is in the podcast. I like accidentally because my family is like pretty religious.
Mm.
My mom's side of the family, I'm not so sure, but like my dad's side, they be like all about Jesus. And I was like conversing with my grandma, just kind of asking like, how do you like feel about like gay marriage or whatever? Because my grandpa will say some like off the wall shit.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it's not really like my place to judge. She's like, based on my religion, I don't really know. Da 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 da. And so we were having like a decent conversation. And just, open-minded, figuring each other out and me sharing like my like ideas and things. And then so someone else in my family who I didn't know was like I knew that they were religious, but I didn't know they were so much so. Um they were like, "Well, are you like trying to tell us something?" And I was like, "Oh, really? What do you like?" Oh, because I had been like, "Well, what if I brought a girl home?" And my family's like, "Well, we just assumed she was your friend." And I was like, "No, what if I was like, this is my girlfriend? Like, I love her romantically. Like, we fucking." And they were like, well, we wouldn't necessarily like agree with it, but like whatever makes you happy. But I had like some, people just like keeping their mouths shut. So someone was like, are you trying to tell us something? And I'm like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend. If like that's what you're asking, like I'm not interested in dating anyone. And they're like, but like, would you want a girlfriend? And I was like, no, I don't want to be dating anyone. And then my dumbass, because I'm just always like fucking spewing my thoughts, I'm just like, oh yeah, but like I wouldn't classify myself as like completely straight, though, because like I am like down bad for everybody. And I'm just going in about how like amazing people are. And I was like, oh fuck. And then everyone is like, and then we're all just like, hey, hey. And then one of my family members straight up just like walked away, left. And I was like, ah, shit. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mm.
What a start to the episode.
Now that everyone knows my sexual preferences,
I mean,
that I have no preference.
yeah, the fluidity of such romance is something to
Yeah.
be admired and respected. And if
There's
it's
so much love in the world.
yeah, and
Embrace.
the ball is in someone else's court on in terms of how they're going to respond to it. So if there's going to be someone that's going to have a problem with it, it's their fault. Like it's on
Yeah.
them. Like
Their
you're not doing
problem.
anything wrong. Yeah, it's their problem. So with that being said, speaking of problems, welcome to Kanpai Chronicles, the show where we always have problems in the intro. But I feel like I'm not gonna go out of my way to do something crazy or creative with the intro because I'm a little bit drunk. So I don't think I should be doing that when my words are already slurring. But
I
I'm
feel like
gonna.
this is your best intro.
This is my best because I feel like we're just going to lead with your story. Like that's like the best way. Like that's the best way. Like you would probably do a way better intro than I would. And the intro would be like not even introducing the fucking show. It's just us.
Some random fucking.
It's just some dumb shit that we're talking about. So with that being said, the podcast all about the good, the bad, and the yabai, featuring our lovely audience right here, our yabai squad, and your hosts, Norman and
Holly.
And yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. My fellow Americans, as well as everybody around the world who I think does not celebrate Thanksgiving because we don't have Thanksgiving here, at least in Malaysia. And in Japan, I don't think there was Thanksgiving. Or I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember anything particularly Thanksgiving-ish within Tokyo. I only have one memory of Thanksgiving within Asakadai, and that was that out of all of us in that fall semester who were adamant about celebrating Thanksgiving, Max was the one that was very particular about celebrating Thanksgiving because I have a memory about him trying to remember the exact date of Thanksgiving because he's always celebrated it with family. So for him, it was like, oh, this is his first time being far away. But Max, if you're listening to this episode, you can always clarify it by sending me a message online, and then I can just clarify it on the next episode or something. But yeah,
Thanksgiving is an interesting holiday because I feel like everybody has, at least in the States. I don't know if other countries have their own like version, but like here, I never quite understood Thanksgiving, to be honest. It's like when you're little and you're in school, they teach you about like people from England coming over and having fucking feast with the original folk of the land. And then you get older and you're like, oh shit, colonizers. But I feel a little sad in like the discourse because there's a lot of hate on Thanksgiving right now. And I don't think anyone, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because this just might be my interpretation, but I don't think anyone sits down at Thanksgiving and is like, sure glad those white people came over and took over the land. I don't think anyone like does that. I feel like Thanksgiving is like supposed to be, you just have a day that's all about appreciating like what you have.
Yeah.
And I do agree that the conversation should be had about how the start of Thanksgiving and things like that, it's not an acceptable like thing that happened. I think it's important to, know the history and stuff like that. But I think in general, like having a day like where you just are extra aware of like what you have and things like that, like I think that's a nice gesture. I don't think people have to like cancel it, but call it something else, maybe move it to another day if it makes you feel better. But like I think overall like it's supposed to be a well-intentioned holiday.
Definitely, especially when we're talking about our relationships with holidays in general. Normally, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not American, so in Thanksgiving it is a great excuse to bring all the family back together to to be, united under one roof, and we catch up, and you have this like homely, amazing environment where you all have turkey and you eat and you chat, etc. So family members from all over the place or all over the country or other parts of the world, they come back and they're like, hey, long time no see, etc., etc., etc. So most people who celebrate Thanksgiving, and I'm being very particular about the word celebrate here, they have this, I don't want to say surface level, but definitely not as in depth as its history. Surface level definition of Thanksgiving as a formal excuse for gratitude. And you cannot argue against gratitude. It's not like you can like, you can't be a hater of gratitude. You can be like, oh, fuck being nice, I don't want to be like that. No. So it's this mandate that, not only the country, but also everybody else around you, and also your family members and your friends, they all recognize that, yes, okay, let's at least have one day where you can prioritize that gratitude above everything else, just for this one day at least. And then we can get back to all these our normal routines.
Back to being ungrateful shits.
Yeah, back to being scared of everything and wars and shit. And yes, it is unfortunate that, maybe unfortunate, too weak of a word to describe it, but it is tragic that the basis or the history of the day of Thanksgiving is
started in something so shitty.
Yeah, it has like oppressive elements, parts of history that are, I don't want to say celebrated, but not brought up to light every time we bring up this day. There's a little bit of conflict there in terms of, oh, okay, should I just ignore that because the bliss that I'm looking for this day is just being attacked or threatened, or is there a way to accommodate the gratitude whilst being notified or being informed of how do we arrive at this point where it's okay to be happy around your family, knowing that there's a lot of struggles and a lot of things that happened in order for this to actually occur in your lifetime. And that's like not really, how do I put this? I think for a number of holidays, that's not really been done. Thanksgiving is definitely a prime example. I think we've talked about this before, and probably on a lighter note, like things like Christmas and Valentine's Day in Japan, it's just commercial. It's just money making scheme. So it's going to be difficult for people to be like, oh, I have this romantic notion to celebrate Valentine's Day with my girlfriend or whatever. But then they're just like, no, we just want your money. You just need to buy more chocolates. That's why.
Yeah.
So it's a bit.
If we want to go there, everything that we do as humans is like rooted in absolute fucking, what's the word I want? Like horrendous shit. Like stuff usually comes about in some like fucked up way, and then just over time it gets twisted into something that's supposed to be nice. But then even then, there's all the notions around it where everything that we do as human is pretty meaningless, to be honest. But we do what we can to make things feel special. And so as long as people aren't being, like crazy, like if I went to Thanksgiving and anyone was like, thank goodness we colonized the land, I might have a fight. I might have a fight at Thanksgiving because that goes against my personal opinions. But like I said, aside from like the things that are taught like in school, at least I don't know if history is like this everywhere, but when we learn history in like American schools, it's very like on the side of America. We don't explore how we have hurt other people. But outside of that, when people get together with their families and stuff, that's all it is. It's just a day to, I mean, if your family drinks, you can get drunk. But just to eat food and hang out with your family and think about, what's good, hopefully, in life.
Yeah, a formal excuse, right? And also to tell people your sexual preferences, I guess. Like if you're full on about it, go for it. Yeah,
start a fight at Thanksgiving. I love to fuck up the holidays.
What better way to spice up your holidays than some drama? Like, for anyone listening in, if you're in that position right now, fucking go for it. Go for
Yeah,
it.
be yourself.
Go
Fuck
for it.
everything else, you know.
Yeah, go for it. I will. Okay, if you're watching the video version right now, I'm holding up a shot of soju right now, so
Oh my
you
god,
will
you're still
realize that
going
I'm.
ham.
There's still some left. I have to finish it. I must finish it. It's my duty. For this is for those who are going through Thanksgiving and there are some things they have to declare in the middle in front of family,
Mm.
because there's nothing stopping us more than the hesitation that we imprint upon ourselves. It's like chains that we are willing to forge for ourselves because we feel safer within our own jail.
Mm.
And sometimes when it's things like declaring your preferences, declaring more elements of your identity, an environment like Thanksgiving where you feel more compelled to, because there's so many positive effects to being in Thanksgiving because everybody's celebratory, right? That you
Mm.
think maybe, yeah, it'd be cool to share more of this myself. If you're still feeling stuck, honestly, you have my permission to go for it. And if something happens and you need a voice of reason, you can DM me. I'd be totally up for it. So
Mm.
this is to everybody here. Oh God.
I can't wait till we can like one day film a show like in each other's presence and actually have shots together. Ah. Though,
I'm waiting. I'll be sick. I'm waiting for that. I'll have
yeah.
all the alcohol, all Japanese, of course.
Mm.
I'm starting to find places where I can get them. So Japanese beers, sake,
We'll do
nihonshu.
a taste test episode.
I need to find there's one. I'll have like there's a I recently went to an izakaya that's here in KL and
Mm.
it's fucking good. And another
Mm.
thing is they have a like honestly like if you're there, it's a throwback. Like
Hey.
I will guarantee it. And if you're there and you don't feel it, you can like I don't know punch me. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But
This
like
sucks, Norman.
uh, give me a shot. Fuck you. But there's this one thing that they have. They have a yuzu shoe. So it's a nihon
Mm,
shoe with yuzu flavor. And
that
I'm
sounds
not
good.
I'm not a yuzu guy. I hate yuzu, actually. I don't like citrusy drinks, but I drank this and it was addicting as fuck. So like if I can get a bottle, you should totally have like the whole thing because it's so good. Yeah.
Alcoholism re-triggered.
Yeah. I'm gonna be your vice for today because I'm already a little bit alcohol, like charged with alcohol immediately. So which
You know where
helps.
else? You know where else you can drink alcohol?
What?
At the Love Hotel.
Yeah, right. Speaking of that, like pretty sure they have menus there. I'm pretty sure they have extra orders you can get because in this
Mm.
episode we're gonna be looking at the darker side of life, the loving sexual side of life, the lustful
Mm.
side, and this happens to be my domain because even before we started this episode, this topic, I've had experience hosting like discussions on this exact thing on like intimacy and sex and vulnerability and the pursuit of self through liberation via physical activity or sexual activity or a connection. And in Japan, they have manifested this in the form of a pretty ass building with neon
Mm-hmm.
lights, and it's like 500 different kinds of themes, and it just depends on what you feel like. And there is a love hotel for you. So
Mm-hmm.
that being said, a question for you: when you were
Yeah.
in Japan for the first time, what was when did you first encounter a love hotel uh like in the wild?
In the wild. Um, I probably didn't even know at first, to be honest, because they're so just placed. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like think about it. And I think the first time that I was like completely aware was probably in Shibuya. You go out like clubbing and there would be like one way at the end of the night where you like walk home and that whole street is just like love hotels.
Yeah.
And I feel like someone in the group was like love hotels. And I was like, oh, are these those things? And they're like, yeah, all of these buildings are like love hotels. And so we were talking like, oh, that's convenient, like right next to the clubs, like da da da. And then like outside, I think that's how I like became more aware of them, because they'll have the signs where it's like you can either pay for like the night or you can pay for a rest, is what they put on it. And then there was one hotel that had like a pool thing, like a little fountain up front that had like rubber duckies. And I think Micah and I think I have it somewhere. We took some rubber duckies
Nice.
just to have rubber duckies from the Love Hotel. You know how Ikebukuro, I feel like I've talked about this in a podcast before, but each like direction you go in Ikebukuro, you're gonna get like a fucking different vibe. Well, one time I went one way. I don't fucking know my directions, but I went one way with a friend, and it was like the love hotels of like Ikebukuro and like the sex shops and things like that. I think a ramen shop that you took me to one time was like located in like fucking this area. I think they had like the movie places and stuff like that. But that was during the day. Japan is so interesting. Like, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but one of my like favorite books is After Dark by Murakami, because it just highlights it so well. Is like in Japan, there's an experience that you have during the day, and then there's an experience that you have during the night. And Japan literally like becomes two different entities to me. Like you can be in the same place, but you're not having the same experience. So there was one time I met up with a friend. I like went out last train because it was one of those like, hey, I'm out. And I'm like, fuck. Okay. And like went out last train. And then when I got out, I was like, I don't even want to do anything. Like, and so we were just gonna go like rest someplace, and like went to a love hotel, and I was like, so I was like, oh no. And you know, like, okay, maybe not like everyone, but you know, like when you're like a virgin and you're like thinking about sex and just like everything around it is like, oh no, and like stressful and scary. I'm like feeling like that. Like I'm going into this like a lobby, and I had been into a lobby before. I think some friends and I one time were gonna go to a love hotel when we were like shit faced, just for like the fun. Like we wanted to see what it was about, but they could tell that we were too drunk, so they were like, you need to go home. But like in the lobby, both the hotels that I've been in would have like some photos of like the rooms, and you can kind of like pick. And then when you go to like the desk, it's like you don't see the person that is like servicing but the person that's like the person at the window, like you don't see them. There's like a little like hole in the shielding where you like pay and stuff like that, but you don't see them. There's cameras and stuff, so I assume that they see you, but it's all very like private and like mysterious. And you go through these doors and it's like hallways and stuff like that. You go to your room. The hotel that I was in, where I actually like went to a room, wasn't really like anything special. I feel like typically when you hear about like love hotels, it's on the conversation of like these fucking crazy like themed ones that you can find throughout Japan. This one was pretty like normal. It was like the bed, and then off to the side you have like your bathroom and stuff. And then on like the headstand, I guess, there's like a nice little jar of condoms. And I was just like, I'm going to bed. And like, so I went to sleep. I didn't like explore like the offerings to be had. But like a lot of people will say typically the hotels will have like a drawer that just has like, you know, like a bunch of sex toys and stuff like that. And some will have like outfits and things. And then some hotels that maybe we'll like talk about are like completely themed. I think I watched a video on one that was like one of the rooms was like if you were in a train, it had like the handles and everything like that. Like maybe your thing is like you've always wanted to fuck on the train, so it's like you can get this room and and live that fantasy. But you said you've never been in one.
Yeah, I've never been in one, and I think
So surprises me
why I'm not like I've never been
because you're
like
a whore.
Whoa, we called me out of the fucking show. Wow, what an asshole. Whoa, what a prick. I mean, I'm not gonna deny it, but like I wasn't like full on like, oh, let's try a love hotel. I never went to like a rabuho, which is the word that people say, like rabuho. No, I've never been inside one. I've seen many, and my friends would tell me about it, and it felt more like a great convenience. We've talked about like the concept of convenience in the past episode, but like my experience with anything related to a love hotel is I think we're thinking about the same location or area. The first time I've ever seen love hotels was that I was looking for an Ichiran, like ramen place, which is the one that I think that you like is the one where it's like a booth and it's more private and small for like one person. So that Ichiran, the Ikebukuro branch, is in the east side, and it's on the street where you can see love hotels on that same street. So if you want to find that ramen place, love hotels are just like right next to it. And that's what makes it funny, like because the first time I saw it, it's not like I was with people that I wanted to go in with. I saw the signs, I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. But then what compelled me or what made me more interested in the concept of love hotels was in Shibuya. So in Shibuya, there are some places where they're not obvious red light districts, but they are pretty much red light districts. They're just like hidden, and they're just like these hidden alleyways. And all of a sudden you're like in these dark alleyways, and then you turn the corner, and then there are these suddenly bright buildings, and these bright buildings have like pictures of scantily clad girls in underwear, and they're like in small buttons or segments. And these are, I guess, pictures or previews of rooms you can try to like book or whatever. The first time I went to that kind of area, I was in a holiday trip with friends, and it was just me and two other guys. We went there, and this one guy said, like this one guy, which I guess was trying to like urge us to start like getting a room at the Love Hotel or something like that, because he thought that maybe we were looking for girls or we were thinking of like bringing a girl over. So that's why he saw us like walking down that road. He was just like, garuze, please, Rabu Hotel. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I got freaked out. But then I went to that same street later on, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what this is for. So I noticed that more and more couple, like you said, day and night, the overall context or vibe is completely different. So at night there were way more couples trying to find a spot or trying to find a room where they can do their shenanigans,
fornicate.
Yeah, they can make the baby, unless protection, of course. Play safe, guys. So like it's fascinating because love hotels are just popped up everywhere, but it's normalized. It's just another building on the street. It's just something that's just provided. You don't really see that definitely I don't see that in Malaysia unless I'm hanging out in the wrong place. But like you don't really walk around in the city and you just have to turn one corner and all of a sudden there's this place where we can fuck at. It's not really
right.
That, which brings up the question of why in a culture like Japan, where on the surface level it's harmonious, it's proper, it's prim, these buildings or these services are normalized. And that's been on my mind for a while because I've always thought that it's like basically the convenience store concept, but like just for sex, but it might have been way more.
I think because this is something that I've been waiting to like fall into the right class so I could explore it more.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm interested in like all things like human. Like I don't understand people and they've become kind of like a science to me. And sex is one of those interesting things because in most places like it's seen as such as very like taboo like thing, yet it's a human desire and you also like so many things are rooted in sex, like even down to like advertising. Yet we're supposed to like feel bad about it, you know?
Yeah.
And with Japan, I think that you often don't really know about like something that's not so obvious is that like sex is so much a part of like Japanese culture. You know, and you go like way back, and there's like brothels and in quote tea ceremonies. Even like kabuki performances and stuff like that. There's so much sex around that. And this is my own interpretation, but I feel like in a lot of ways, sex itself is interpreted as an art. And I think it has just evolved over time to fit the modern like perspective. So even though on the surface, you know, people are like, oh, sex, everyone is still fucking horny.
Yeah.
Like, I would notice this in talking with just friends at school. Um, if you're like in a group or you're around people, yeah, you know, people will be like, oh, don't talk about that stuff. But then if you're one on one or with like a couple of close people, then people are like willing to talk more in depth about those, you know, conversations. People don't really feel any type of bad way unless maybe they grew up in a way where they're like, you know, completely shamed for it. I
Yeah.
feel in the West, a lot of people are shamed like through religion, which shapes and perceives how they think about sex. In Japan, it seems more of like a society thing where it's like, okay, if there's a bunch of people that are going to like perceive and listen to you, you have to like rein it in and seem normal. But everyone over there is fucking like, you know, the thing that I found interesting about like love hotels and stuff in particular, you get into conversations about like sex work and stuff like that.
Right.
Most countries make it illegal, like it's not an actual thing you can get into, but in Japan, I think we've kind of touched on it. There's lots of little ways in which you can pay for that service. And the love hotels, I think, are like another way to do that. Whether it's blatantly, you know, you find a sex worker and you take them to a love hotel, or you're having an affair,
Yeah.
or you meet someone at the club. Um, there is a service and a place, this love hotel, where you can go and keep things discreet versus like if you took someone home with you or whatever and people see like what's happening. You get to keep the intimate parts of your life more private.
And it's become a business. It's become a
Yeah.
service. Yeah. It's just like this. It's recognized. That's the thing. Like there's an economy
Mhm.
around it, which is what makes it very fascinating. Because most of
Mhm.
the time you think about, not that I want to add anything religious to this conversation, but the sinfulness of the activity of finding someone to do to do the deed with for the night. And all of a sudden you have the convenience of these love hotels available for you, and they come in
Mhm.
different themes so you can explore the extent of what you want in terms of aesthetics. In Japan, it's as if people have recognized that doing these things is inevitable, so let's mitigate the damage from you going to be doing these things anyway by changing the location to a place where there's jobs to be made, people can be fed, and people can do so willingly, anonymously, which is something that we did touch on before, where anonymous culture in Japan is huge. The ability to hide parts of yourself, the ability to hide certain parts of the animal or the beast within you. It's like it's almost a necessity. In at least in Tokyo. Like I don't know about other places. I can't comment. But like I was reading a few articles and I was like, there's some places all over the country. So I'm just gonna assume it's gonna be consistent all around. So don't worry about that. It's interesting to me. Like I look at this not as sex work, because sex work is pretty much prevalent all over the world. How it's perceived, it can be different, sure. But in Japan, rather than sex work, it's more like physical convenience is in abundance. We've seen pink salons, we've seen soap lands, we've seen hug massages, or like what was it called? Like hug,
cuddle parlors.
Cuddle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like there's partners that will just hug you for an hour and you pay money. And massage places, which may or may not be sus if you're in Shinjuku, but still, physical conveniences are in abundance, and love hotels are under that same umbrella, because you'll need to have a partner to do stuff with, and you need to find a place. Might as well make money off of that. So here we go. Like Japan has recognized the animals of their own citizens. That's to me something to admire, but also something to consider as well. So
yeah. And then like another reason, because I think if you ask people, oh, why are there love hotels, there's also at least from here, in my experience in the West, if you want to like hook up, you don't really not every, like, it depends on the person, but for the most part, people will do as they want. Like if you're at like a house party, people will just go to like the bathroom or a room that no one's in, and they'll just have sex there. Or even if you have like roommates and you want to bring someone back home, you'll just bring someone back home to like your room. In Japan, maybe there's a little more like consideration into that, where it's like you don't want to bother like the people around you. But then also a lot of people live with their families, like until they get married or something like that. And I can imagine that if you're like living at home with your parents and grandparents and maybe younger siblings, you're probably not gonna like bring a girl home that you just met from like the club or something. Like you're gonna want to have your own space to have your own experience without inconveniencing other people.
The other thing I think as well, a side effect of having having love hotels just out in the open, I don't know if this is true. I feel like this needs to be like challenged, and I'm happy to be wrong. I feel like having love hotels out in the open encourages that to occur more often, because it's just out there in the open that this is an available option if you're considering it. Most of the time, and this might be an Asian thing, most of the time when it comes to risk taking, like behaviors that require some level of risk or some level of where your face is at stake, your reputation, etc., you want to minimize the damage of, or the chance of that happening where it might get affected. So once you see these options around you, you're like, oh, okay, if I want to do something bad with someone, at least I know there's this option right here, this love hotel, because I saw the sign. And you just see that all over the place, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not that bad. As long as I don't get caught, it's fine, because these options are available. Sometimes options teach you certain things, like incite certain desires in you, and it's a double-edged sword, because yes, it does cater for those who are going to be doing it anyway, but then at the same time, for those who weren't, all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, if I'm going to be going back home with somebody, at the very least, I don't have to, because now I have the option. And sometimes having an option will compel someone to want to go down that path. Whether it's ethical or unethical, I'm not too sure, because it just depends on the case. It was just something to think about, because I was trying to think about whether or not there was going to be love hotels in Malaysia, for example, or in Australia. And in Australia, there are, I don't know if I should be saying this because I'm not sure if it's a legal place, but there are places where you can pay to have sex in Australia. Some friends have told me about it. Oh, actually, no. Wait. Even more so, I went to that place, but I didn't do anything there. My friend brought me because he wanted to show me the place. I'm just like, why are you showing me this? But then he's just like, he's kind of funny, so it's fine. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is the kind of establishment that you would go to. And it turns out it was okay. So in Australia, it's not that bad. In Malaysia, definitely this kind of thing would be just illegal, because they feel that censorship of such behaviors seems to be supposedly healthier for citizens within that country. So, I just had this thought that maybe love hotels are power-based, just extremely power-driven, just because of their availability.
That poses like an interesting like discussion, because I feel like if love hotels didn't exist, it would just be something else. Like in the States, we don't have love hotels. We don't have places that are like advertised that way, like go here to fuck. But your common everyday like hotel or motel, your home away from home, those are always going to exist because there's a need for that. And whether or not it's branded as like a love hotel like it is in Japan, there are many establishments that become used for things like having sex or doing drugs. So even if it wasn't like a love hotel, that desire and like what people use the love hotel for would just occur somewhere else. Like without the love hotel, that behavior would not just cease to exist, you know? So I think that they're like, that's just obvious. So it's like, why not have a place for this to happen safely, hopefully? And with anything, you know, there's the corrupt end. You know, there's things like sex trafficking and stuff like that. And places that are of like convenience are always going to have that side of things too. But again, I wouldn't place these like establishments at necessary like fault for anything unless they are like condoning that and they are like accepting of that and they're not trying to look out for it. But again, those things are going to be happening, unfortunately, regardless of whether or not a love hotel is there.
Fair. Yeah. Because the behavior is going to be existing regardless of whether or not these exist. So it's understandable. Like, I guess it's just that the fact that it's just so out there in the fucking open. Like we can walk to Rikyo
definitely it
from
makes
the
it more
station.
convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a love hotel not far from Rikyo. Like that's an example, right? Like we're gonna walk and it's just like you can see some signs there. So, that was quite a culture shock for me. So it's just, the alleyway to Fucktown is just 15 meters away from where I study. So yeah, we'll just pause on that for a little bit because I just realized that I completely skipped one section that we normally have, which is the Yokai of the week. And
oh man,
it just completely went out of my mind because I was just so fascinated by love hotels. But it's good because this yokai, it's my turn to show the yokai for the week, and it is extremely related to not love hotels in particular, but brothels and red light districts. So
hell yeah.
For our listeners right now, this week's yokai of the week is is the yokai called Kejoro, which is, in translation, it means hairy prostitute. Can be found, the habitat is brothels and red light districts, and the diet is young viral men, so healthy men who are eager for a little bumping, right? They like the hairy prostitute is going to be hunting after you in the dead of night. And Keijoro, I feel like it's very, very appropriate just because it feels like something you would find maybe in a love hotel or maybe just in those sus ass alleyways that you find in Shinjuku. So, appearance is Keijoro is a prostitute whose face and body are hidden behind a curtain of long matted black hair. So they are wearing, like, I guess, kimonos or courtesan outfits, except that they have long layers of hair that are just covering their face. Although in some stories, their whole body is covered in thick hair, like an animal. But I'm just going to assume that it's going to be just the head. The interactions normally, or how they basically grab their victims, is they just happen to look very hot. So if there's like a victim, like some young man at a district that's just like, hey, I know you are, or I recognize you, like from the back. So they try to capture, like, get their attention. And then they turn around. And then if the victim or if the supposed man is shocked by the monster, then the shock will give the monster ample time to attack the victim by tangling the victim up in her hair and using it to slice him up. Supposedly, the reports of deaths by Keijoro are very rare, but I'm not going to trust any yokai deaths because I'm not sure if there's like a survey or questionnaire or some scientific thing. But
Have you survived?
Do you know any Keijoro in the last 14 days? Are you alive? Yes or no? I don't know. So there's one extra fun fact. I'll put that at the end. But the origin of Keijoro come back to the written piece, The 100 Demons of the Past and Present, written by Toriyama Seikien. These are the earliest records, but even then, they're not sure of the accuracy of the appearance. So we don't know if the hair is from like the just from the head, where it's just mainly human. But then some people say, okay, it's an entire animal or beast, or looking at beast-like appearance or something like that. Now, fun fact, and then I want to get your take on this. Supposedly, the Keijoro are not only popular with humans, but also popular with yokai. So some male yokai would fight with each other to get the attention and affection of a Keijoro. So it's a hot demon, technically, right? It's like a yes, like yokai demon. And quote in this yokai.com article, quote, Keijoro seem to return this devotion as well. In some stories, a Keijoro will cut off her hair and send it to her lover, human or yokai, or tattoo his name into her skin to prove her undying devotion to him. So despite this monstrous prostitute killing men, there's some romance or love in the air if they're going to find the love of their life, whether in different forms of, demon or human. So yeah, what do you think about this unique demon right here?
Yeah, I wonder how she like decides who is like worth her affection and who she's just gonna like murder.
Oh, like a type, like
yeah, is there
your
a way
ideal
to like
man?
get on her good side,
Big dick.
Oh my god. Or is it just like worshiping her is like enough, like just feeds her ego, and so she's like, okay, I could return this man's affection, versus like if they're afraid of her, then maybe she's like, you know what, you gotta die.
I don't think that's much of a barrier, right? Because, like, according to the description, they've had human lovers.
Yeah.
So that means that, like, maybe the human lover was like, hey, like, I want to get your attention, and then they turned around and then they showed their face or whatever it is. But then the human was like, oh, I fell in love with you at first sight or something like that, and then they got
Yeah.
together and happily ever after. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't understand the basis for like a type at this point, because it feels like anyone who does not get surprised at her appearance is a potential lover at this point, if you know what I mean.
It's interesting.
But then I don't know what male yokai are thinking. Like, is the lizard brain of a male yokai different from a male lizard brain of a human? People never know.
I would feel it's probably worse because typically like yokai don't restrain themselves. I feel they're just acting like super impulsively, and there are humans that are that way, but I don't know. If they're like willing to like grapple with each other over the desires of this yokai, I would assume their want to feed that desire is pretty strong.
It was just shocking to me that there's romance between yokai. Like, out of all the demons and stuff that we're looking at, like, can you imagine Shirime having a wife? Right? No, right? Like, there isn't a Mrs. Shirime, right? There's just Shirime.
How do we know? How do we know?
I'm gonna fucking search it just to check. Let me
It's
just.
like a female Mrs. Shirime.
Oh shit, I couldn't find it. Oh no, is Shirime like a hidden character? Fuck. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure there isn't like a female Shirime. Like, I don't even know how to write that. Like, Shirmet? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to like Shirime with an accent over the E and then extra E. Like I don't know.
I feel like
But
that's an interesting thing is that you can find in like I think like a lot of anime and stuff like that too. This kind of, how do I want to word it? The differences amongst the living entities and what we can like identify with. Like there's lots of anime and manga and things that deal with yokai or demons or spirits. And there's always that kind of underlining question where humans are sort of relating to the, in quote, like humanity that you can find in these like other species. Because they are different from us and not technically like the same as us, yet they can have these like same feelings. I feel like that's usually like you can find a lot of discussion on that like within like Japanese like media.
I don't think any one of them are talking about the hairy prostitutes and how they kill men though.
No, there might be, because I didn't finish the arc, but I was reading the Demon Slayer like manga, and I started where like the first season of the anime ends, and it's all in like the red light district. And as we're having this conversation, I was like, oh, I wonder if the demon that is in this area is supposed to be a representation of this particular like yokai.
Right.
Because and so maybe I didn't read far enough to see like whatever they're gonna figure out with her, if there's any like deeper level of fucking turmoil and pain that has made her the way that she is. But even in that like series, a lot of demons start as humans, and so there's some layer and typically things that they went through in their life that made them become this creature. And even for like a lot of, this is kind of like a whole different discussion, but like a lot of women go through, some experiences and then they'll turn into like man eaters, the like use men, hate men, like sort of thing. And this particular yokai could just be maybe even derived from that thought or notion.
Yeah, we've seen a number of demons where it's like vengeance based or rage based or based off of something so traumatic that it twisted their soul to turn it into something that requires, like, for them to acquire redemption, they need to do something that's just completely harmful to humanity because they're just something else now. And maybe for the Kijoro, I'm not saying how it's formed or anything like that, so I can't really comment. But maybe something happened at the red light district. Maybe it could be like violence within the brothel. Maybe they got killed while they were courting. I don't know. It could be something like that, and it could give birth to this kind of thing, which is crazy to me. Seeing as how, yes, we are depicting most of these not ancient, long-lasting pieces of lore of Japanese history, and we're seeing it weaved into current media. But it was just fascinating to see that, okay, yes, they are paying homage to a certain extent of how we've seen these demons manifest, but in a more accessible format. So, but it still scares the shit out of me if I meet someone like this at the red light district, and it's just some faceless monster
You
with long hair.
better fight for her affection.
Yeah, I better. There's gonna be some like yokai next to me. He's just like, "Hey, bro, bro, what's your favorite color, bro?" And I'm just like, "Bro, I don't know, bro. Like, bro, which uni does she go to? I don't know, fucking Rikyo. I don't know."
Yeah, I feel like this yokai would definitely, like, you'll probably have more of an opinion on how to rate it, because for me as a female, like, I'm not even on her radar. So
Hey, it didn't say anything
she's
about like bisexual Kyojuro, right?
no,
I've never.
I'm not saying like we couldn't hook up, but like I'm not a part of her diet plan.
Sure.
So like we could hang out, but I don't like, it doesn't sound like she wants to, devour me in that sense. She could teach me some tricks.
You could just go up to her like, "Do you have a line? Can I add you online?" It's just.
I'd be like, I really want to talk about destroying men. Can you like help me out? Can you teach me some of your tips?
And she's like,
how do I get my hair to slice up boys?
And she's just like nodding, like shows her iPhone, and she's like, "Hey, here's my QR code." Like,
scan the QR code. Yeah. You got a Snapchat? Sends me pics of her latest kill.
Oh my fucking god. On tiering this is like close to, I forgot the I need to find it in my notes. Close to our tier for the slit mouth woman, because this is around the same. This is a human,
Yeah.
and so there's the element of like it being human, therefore relatable, and therefore my defenses are just down because it's just a woman that I meet. And the way that they attract you, I guess, is that, oh, she's hot, I want to talk to her, and I go up to her, and then as soon as I do anything, and then I get shocked by seeing who she really is or whatever it is, I die. And I'm assuming as soon as I am exposed to her hair, I die. I'm just going to assume that it's like that. So let me just look back at Kuchisane Sake Onna, which is the slit mouth woman. And we did put it as S tier. That being said, I don't think this is S tier, but I think it will be A or B tier. My rationale for this is you will only find this yokai in brothels and red light districts, which means higher percentage chance of me just thinking with my dick. So if I see, right, if I like, I'm not rational at that point, right? Like at least with a slit mouth woman, if I'm alone at a street, at least I can be wary of like the person I meet. Like maybe, anyone with a knife can kill me. So if I just meet someone who's like a woman, I'll be like, okay, I'm worried. I'm still worried. It's still a possible chance, right? But this is like, I'm not thinking rationally when I'm at the red light district. There's no such thing as logic in lust, right? There's only lust. So if my dick says, hey, you should talk to this woman in front of me, I'm probably just going to do it. I'm not going to say it's out of my control, but it's more like greater chance.
You're in that area for a specific reason.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to approach like a beautiful, mysterious woman than you would be if you were just like walking home.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Exactly. In this description, it doesn't say anything about the person approaching me. The yokai approaching me. It's more like me approaching this person. So it is out of my desire. So my desire is a risk within this context, but
Mhm.
that desire is amplified because it's a red light district, right?
Mm.
As compared to a slit mouth woman, as soon as you say a single word, you're dead for a slit mouth woman.
Yeah.
But this is a
Yeah.
bit different. It's more like
With her, you have a chance. You could survive.
yeah, it's like she thick. Oh, I'm a holler, right? Like that is no, right? Like I just go up there and then I say something and I'm dead. So I would put this as A tier because it's not as dangerous, I believe, as a slit mouth woman. If I was like transcendent and I don't feel any lust at all, I wouldn't even go out of my way to even recognize this yokai. So I'd be safe. That's why.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. Unless there's
Especially
something
adding in like those factors, like being under the influence of your own desires makes it like more risky.
Yeah.
And the fact you're only going to find her in that specific place. So like you said, you're more likely to engage.
Yeah. Well, you know me well, so like if there's anything else that like a factor that I'd even thought about myself, then maybe you can bring it up. But at least A is already pretty high up there. Like A already A already assumes that I most likely will die if I because it's me. So I think it covers everything. Yeah.
What else do we have in the A tier?
I'll have to look back because my notes are all over the place at the moment, so I can't really give you like a.
Give her, yeah, she can. I would say somewhere in like the A or B.
I haven't compiled it all together yet, but the other A tier ones include the Onamazu, which is the giant catfish, so the one that causes tsunamis, which is really funny that this thing that I like this prostitute I want to bang is the same danger level as this giant catfish that's gonna make like a tsunami. It's really funny, right? This is a really fun thing to do, like the yokai thing. It's just hilarious. But none of them are as powerful as Shirime, hot waterfall daddy, or
One true god,
or slit mouth woman. So like that's like the trifecta right there for S tier. I'll try and I need to compile all the tier lists and like post it up there. Maybe just like a quick video on the Kanpai Chronicles YouTube channel, just to talk about updates to the tier list and then like put them up there.
Maybe like every 10 yokai, update the
every 10 episodes or something. Okay. Oh yeah, every 10 yokai. Yeah, better.
But yeah, she could be in like a category. Surprise! You never know what you're gonna get.
Oh God, A tier.
Maybe she'll love you and she'll tattoo your name onto her body. You'll get a package of her hair.
I'll need to like seduce her. I don't know what a yokai wants. I don't. What they're not gonna want the same like thing as a human.
You're stupid. Like your stupid approach will be good enough. She'll be like, "Oh, that's endearing." You're like,
"This kid's a dumbass, but he's cute."
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh my
God. He's too stupid to want to kill. And I'll adore him for his strange.
He's not worth eating because he's dumb. But like, I mean, at least I'll survive, so I'm gonna take that.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, in the world of red light districts, on brothels, love hotels, which are basically at this point modernized semi brothels or just places to fuck. There are a number of themes. There are a number of like implications for how or why they exist in Japan, in Tokyo. But I think what will be more fun, instead of figuring out maybe the best places or whatever, because I tried to find like the best love hotels or whatever, and to be honest, there's just so many, so I'm not sure if it's a good idea to like bring them up unless you have some in mind. But
I was gonna ask if you had any, like if you found one that was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
I found a few. I can link them. I'll link them in the show notes, but I'll bring up a few. I have their names. So we've talked about themes, and you would think that, oh, a themed love hotel is just, oh, just some decorations here and there, and then they'll be fine. But
Mm,
you did bring up the like the handles as if you're on a train station. Sorry, on
mhm,
a train. Like people like love hotels really do commit to the theme. It's like really fascinating what they're willing to go through to to like commit to that theme. So there's a few that I found where they stick to a specific theme. One is called the Hotel Us K Bajo, which is for those who are interested in medical role playing. And
oh,
the
like
theme is
doctor
a
patient.
yeah, the theme is a
Mm,
hospital. And like I'm looking at it right now. It's like patient beds, doctors' desks, full white, very, very, very hospital looking.
mm,
Um, it's not definitely it's not in Tokyo. It's in Niigata Prefecture, so it's far
mm,
away. But for those who are in Niigata and they're looking for a little spice in their life and they want to play doctor, then they might have like I don't know sex toys that are medical or something like that, or like whatever. But just looks insane. We could just fuck around in this kind of theme. So that's one. There's another one I'm trying to find. Another one. This one's not that intense, but I'll bring it up anyway. There's like a European hotel inspired love hotel, which is
mm,
just European decoration. So the hotel Brugge is in Chiba Prefecture, and it's amazing European aristocratic design.
mm.
But it's not just like one bedroom and then that's it. No, it's like an entire suite. So there is the grand king size
Oh
bedroom. There
shit.
is like the living room, like tea sitting area, and there's like chandeliers and everything. You can have a look at it. I'll link it in the chat here for your pleasure to look at if you want. But like also link this in the show notes for anyone else interested in looking at these. So I'm looking at the Keibajo and Hotel Brook, and there's a few others as well. There's like mermaid themed ones, underwater ones, but these are like they're not as out there. They're like expected. So
Mm.
I don't know. In your in your research, have you come across any love hotels that have piqued your interest?
There weren't like, and again, like I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm interested in like this kind of shit. So there isn't much that like really surprises me. Um, so there are like a lot of hotels that like look cool, like the
Yeah.
just, the aesthetic and stuff like that. Something that surprised me, and I think I see it on the list that you just sent me to. I don't think it's the same hotel that I saw, but they have Christmas themed love hotels, which I thought was an interesting thing. Like, is it like that all year round, or do they just pop up around Christmas? Or like, what is the desire of someone who like do they want to fuck Santa? Like, is that how they want to feel? Like, I'm really interested to like talk to people who want to go to a Christmas themed love hotel. Like, I want to know their feelings and thoughts behind wanting that particular aesthetic to their experience. And then there was a hotel, not necessarily for the hotel itself, but it just reminded me of, hang on, what was it called? There's like Hotel Rochelle that says it's in Tokyo, and it's like an SM sort of hotel. I'll send it to you so you can see the pictures. I was impressed that these fucking things are just like in the room. Um, but it has like furniture and shit that go along with like SM stuff. I think there was like I don't know, I can't think of what they're called, but those like medieval things where you like fucking lock their head in there. You're like bent over on the street sort of punishment thing.
Right, right.
And
Shit starts with G. Uh, it's not guillotine, but like it's the other one. Gallows, right? It's like the
yeah, yeah,
gallows.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like there was one of like the person who wrote the blog like put that in there, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then it made me remember I never got to go, but there was like even in an SM themed bar in Tokyo that I really wanted to go to because I was like reading the description of it and it's like they do like shows and shit where you can just like watch someone get fucking hot wax poured on them and stuff. And I was like, that's like you can just go like do this. Like I'm sure there definitely are places in the States, probably especially like in the bigger cities where you can find stuff like this. But I'm in like the fucking rural Midwest. So we don't like see a lot of that shit. And so the fact that like you can go somewhere and have that experience, like I don't know. That's kind of cool.
And they're out there. It's just like it's just a train ride away. Like that's the cool part about Tokyo. It's just like, oh, all these people with frustrations. There's like, yeah, there's a bar for it. There's a love hotel for it, right? Like you want some privacy. I there was someone I'm blanking out on her name right now. Nat. Yeah, there we go. In spring semester, one of the other students that was in Asakadai as well, Nat. Shout out to Nat. She's so lovely. Was telling me about like SM places or like BDSM places, or clubs and bars where there's even a dress code. You must dress appropriately to be accepted in. You can't just observe neutrally. You have to be committed to that look. And she'll be telling me about it. And to be honest, I regretted not going because there's something really liberating about being able to pursue these things yourself, even if it's just a curiosity, right? So do you want to go out of your way to explore this thing yourself, or like do you want to go out of your way to find out who you are within this context, to find out what will happen if you witness these like performances, right? Like these things in front of you, and see how you feel about it. Maybe it's something you agree, something you disagree with. Maybe it's like another kink you might find or something like that. And yes, love hotels have that element of privacy, but I think the theme part of it is also another way of finding out what you really like beyond just vanilla sex banging stuff. Anyone can just set up a hotel and just make it be just like that. But then for some reason, just the plethora of themes, I'm actually quite impressed. Like I'm very happy about that. Like, there's just all these tools, all these like gallows and everything. It's just pretty awesome to see.
And plus it's like cool, like, you know, we talk a lot about you know, as far as Japan goes, as like on a society level things, like everyone has to be like a certain way and you have to like blend in and you have to like be about the norm. But then when it's like you have all these things in this context, like all these different love hotels that are catering to different wants and needs that people have, it's almost like an underlying like, hey, even though we have to present ourselves on this way socially and to the rest of the world, like we got you. And in the underground, you are free to like be who you want and explore like what you want to explore. So I think it's pretty cool that those like services are out there and available.
Yeah. And you know, it's once again, it's another community, especially for people who are willing to and they want to find a place to do so. So there's a safe place for that. Whether it's out there and open or not, we don't know. And it really just depends on the culture and the nation in question.
You know,
but in Tokyo, it works really well.
I don't know if this is like a worldwide thing or if it's just something that is projected in America. But like ever since I was like a little bit younger and people, you know, are talking about like traveling and stuff, there would always be like this phrase where people would be like, I just want to like fuck my way across to Europe. Europe is like an easy place to like travel through. And so now I'm like, is there anyone out there who's like their thing is to like just experience and explore like random hookups across Japan at different like love hotels? that would be a blog that I would follow. Like someone who just is like completely sexually liberated and is like, I want to try out different themes, like meet people that are like into this certain thing, hook up and like explore and write about their experience. That would be badass.
You know what, like I'm already a little bit inebriated, so I'm okay with saying this. Like I would be that kind of person. Like I'm very open with like to trying new things, and I did like I did like the BDSM test like a while ago, and the numbers were quite high for a number of things. So I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't even know that about myself. So I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not sure about I'm not sure about a sex trip across the country. I don't know if that's appropriate. I feel like I'm gonna be detained and exiled. I don't know, right? Like blogging about it is one thing. Like maybe I can like talk about it in another way. But there is something to there's something to follow about sexual liberation, because there are a number of blogs about that, specifically about that topic. Not maybe not through specific experiences, like first-hand experiences through a country, but maybe through their insights after contemplating on specific experiences throughout life. So it's not like the narrative isn't like, oh, okay, I was in this place, I was fucking for 40 days in a row or whatever, but rather, throughout my life, I've encountered a number of realizations that just happen to be through sensual activities. Here's what I want to share. And that's a little bit more healthy. Like, to be fair, if if there's a way to realize my own like pursuits of liberation through Japan, I would have done. You would have already known. I would have done it, or like I would have tried to do it, and I would need a lot longer than like 30 days. It would take way longer. So yeah.
No, I'm not saying like a free for all dirty thing, but just like, let's say like I'm traveling about and I'm like, you know what, I want to explore different like facets of like my sexual desires, and so I meet people that are of like same like mind that I feel comfortable and safe with, and I'm like, okay, you have a Christmas kink, let's go to the Christmas Love Hotel and I want to explore that, and then you talk to me about it, and then I can write some, because if you're gonna, I feel like with bloggers and stuff, it's not typically like a I'm just gonna like do whatever. There's more emotions and contemplations and thoughts going on like behind that. And then let's say amongst the travels, I'm like, oh, is there a dinosaur love hotel? That's where my mind went. But let's just say like I come across this and I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I meet some people that are like, is there?
It's a Jurassic Park love hotel.
Oh my God. I feel like I had to have seen that. Like, where would this come from in my mind? So I meet other people and they're like, something about dinosaurs gets me hot. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go explore that at the Dinosaur Love Hotel. And then ooh.
Oh my God. What am I reading? Sorry, I was really listening, and then it just shocked me that there is a Jurassic Park themed love hotel. Good Lord. They have food. That's cool. And a jacuzzi. Wow.
Sky Sexy Light.
This is in Oita Prefecture. Wow. It's just gonna be like, it's just like you said, it's just gonna be this like sexcapade where you'll just have a different kind of experience in every prefecture. And in Oita Prefecture, if you just want to explore your dinosaur kinks, then you have a place for.
Yeah, or even just skimming. I'll read this later, but the person writing it was kind of talking about even like a fear response, and how that can sometimes lead to like arousal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like, those are interesting things to explore. So yeah, that would be a neat a neat blog idea. If you want to get into blogging and you're sexually liberated, let me know if you
Yeah.
go on an adventure to explore various love hotels, because I
Let
will
it,
be your number one fan.
let us know. Like
Mm,
we want to talk about it on the show. Like I want to
mm,
read your
mm,
stuff. I want to read the things
mhm.
you write. And I would love to like, comment, react, whatever the fuck. Because that'd be so sick. Like there's nothing better than celebrating each other's experiences. As long as
Mhm,
it's like
mhm.
healthy ones and good ones, of course. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
for in this particular one, yes, it sounds like a fantastic one.
Yeah,
So
yes.
so wait. There's no way in the topic about love hotels that we cannot ask this question. Holly, what's the if you could design a love hotel, how would it look like?
I was trying to think about this, and this is gonna be like probably two different answers. So
Yeah.
am I designing a love hotel for myself, like the vibe that I want, or am I making a love hotel as an entrepreneur and I am working
No,
to
no, no, no. The first one. The first one. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in your business. No, 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 no.
You're like,
This
fuck
is
your business.
no fuck your money making scheme. No, no, no. I'm here. I want to hear like your fantasy materialized, right? Like that's pretty much what your ideal love hotel is, because we're talking about like ideals at this point. Like what would be the ideal love hotel for you?
I feel like for me, because as fascinating like as I think sex is, and I wish I was a person that could just like fucking go off and do whatever I want. I say this is unfortunate, but really like it's not that bad. For me, I have to have some sort of established connection if I'm going to explore with someone sexually. So I have to have like some type of feeling for them, whether they're like a really good friend or I have like a certain amount of respect for them. So when I think of like super comfortable like hotel room, my aesthetic is probably like there's got to be some like beautiful lighting. And I don't mean like light fixtures. I like colored lights and all that shit. I want to like set a fucking mood. Um so probably like something along those lines, and it probably more of an experience that seems like really intimate, like places that have like a jacuzzi tub and things like that, and just I don't know, like things that can kind of get the mood set. Like some people can just like walk into a room and fuck. I need a little bit of a experience. I'm an artist of sorts. I need to be inspired. I need to get inspired to do my best work. So probably something like very kind of like sexy and sultry, but then with the option of, depending on how I'm like feeling that night, like are we going to have blue lights? Are we going to have red lights? You know, I need the option to make my environment suit my mood. And I have heard like lots of hotels will include like toys and things like that. So having the option of these things like readily available to me, I think is like a must. And that's like in general. If I was down for like something like freaky or whatever, then that would be a whole different conversation. But I think in general, just something like very aesthetic, something kind of like sensually sexy that I could just feel comfortable. Almost like it's like my own place, but not, you know? What about you?
It's a complicated answer. So I don't know if I can like I don't know if I can explain it well enough.
I
But
mean, that's how I felt too. I'm like, I don't know if
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah. Right. So I'll try to explain it, and you can like totally cut in if you want for anything, any questions. So I feel that the concept of, before I get to the answer itself, I feel that the concept of a love hotel is incomplete. And the reason
Mm.
why, for the standard love hotel, you already have a couple or a partner consenting to doing stuff, and they
Mhm.
pay and they go in and they do things. So a bit of a parallel to what you were talking about, where you would want a lot more emotional investment before you're willing to go to that point with somebody in a love hotel.
Mm.
It's not
Mm.
just like go in, fuck, go out. No, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, both men and women, they require a lot more investment in that, in terms of,
Mm.
am I willing to be so vulnerable with this person that I'm willing to do these things with them? So I thought about deconstructing the concept of the building of a love hotel, and rather take inspiration from Dante's Circles of Hell and
Mm.
make a really tall building where each level is different levels of intimacy. So the first level, or the ground level, is a cafe where you're getting to know each other. The second level is a bar, and the third level is maybe something a little bit more, and the fourth level is a love hotel for vanilla rooms, and the fifth level is for something more intense, like like BDSM, and the sixth level is more for intensely provocative themes.
Mhm.
The reason why is because you would want to filter out different kinds of people who want to just get straight into sex. So they have an elevator to go straight to level 4 or level 5, whatever. But then for those who require more time before they will be willing to commit to doing those kinds of things, they have that space in the first few
Mhm.
levels, whether it's a bar, whether it's a cafe, whether it's a restaurant, or whatever it is. So you have the prep for social intimacy immediately. We provide that for you. And slowly but surely, you're like, okay, let's go to the super sus ass counter where we can't see the person's face. And we pay for a level 4 room. And level 4 room is like a normal room or whatever, right? That's a normal room.
Mhm.
Maybe there's different colored themes or whatever. But then a level 5 room is something more intense, like the available toys or the gallows
Mhm.
or specific fixtures that you want to explore. You look at it whether it's available or not, something like that.
Mhm.
But the top
I'm gonna cut
floor,
in.
yeah, okay, go for it.
You're explaining to me your business,
Ah,
and I want to know about your room.
my room. Okay, my
Yeah.
room. Okay, I was about to get to it, so it's perfect.
okay.
No, my room is at the
Okay.
top.
Okay.
Yeah, my room is at the top.
You're like, so we're
Of
talking
course.
about levels.
Yeah. If I just go straight to it, it'll be too disconnected. So
Okay. Okay.
yes,
So
my
you
room.
want to?
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
You're setting
So
the scene.
yes, so my room is at the top. So if
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
emotionally
Okay.
invested with someone, and I'm like, okay, let's explore the extent of our connection together, liberation through different sexual activities. At the very top, there's different extreme themes for rooms, etc. But I'll describe my theme. My theme, I guess, is based off of that Dante's Circles of Hell. It's a lot. It's on the theme in one word is surrender. So these are things like metal chains, handcuffs, fixtures and poles that you just cannot escape from, and toys as well are available. But it's it like the room is designed in a way where it's almost not human. It's almost as
Mm.
if it's training you to think that society has no place within this room. So you don't have to put up a front anymore. You can surrender to your desires. You can be
Mm.
you can be a dom, you can be a sub, you can be
Mm.
like a basically a sex slave or a pet
Mm.
or a dominatrix or a blank, which is whatever it is, right? It's almost like an empty canvas for lust and of the highest order.
Mm.
So my theme is basically something like lust jail,
Mm.
and depending on the person, we take turns switching. So
Mm-hmm.
handcuffing them, getting handcuffed, using whips, pain, blood, maybe even blood. I don't know. But of course, in a very consensual, safe way, right? Of course,
Yeah,
BDSM.
yeah.
It's I don't know about like the color scheme, etc. Like it's probably not like vibrant
Right.
because,
It's got to
but
inspire that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's probably provocative. So it's like a red light,
Mm.
contrasting shadows, because there's something really hot about seeing like shadows on the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, but something like that. Like that will be my theme. Like my theme is surrender.
Mm.
Like that's like any
Mm.
interpretation of surrender sounds amazing to me.
Mm. Whew. Whew. Spicy hours.
Yeah. What a way to start your day.
I know. I'm just like, man, it's
Yeah.
been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is for this room specifically is that it's also like one thing great about this room. Hopefully, if I'm designing, I'm not an interior designer, so I can't really tell if this is a good room or not. But
Hire someone.
yeah, I need to hire a sex designer. There's a word for it, I don't know. But surrender is the theme. But the other part is what's the word for it? It's like an empty canvas. So people's interpretations should also be accepted. Like as an example, if I were to bring someone who is maybe more innocent and soft, but then through enough provocation they become a dominatrix, then the room should be able to bow down to their will.
Mm-hmm.
Or in another case, maybe a really athletic girl would come in and they seem like they would be dom, but then after enough liberation they suddenly surrender. Then how will the room adapt to their wants or
Yeah.
needs? What can I do in that moment where I'm like, okay, this person is changing now, how can I accommodate for that change in a healthy
Yeah.
but lovely way?
Yeah.
So it's like an empty canvas. But yeah, I don't know how else to design it. I'm not really like, I'm not in a position to throw money to build a love hotel in Japan and be like, hey, yeah, let's make this happen. I don't know.
Just a place where you can explore,
Yeah.
explore both people's desires and intimacies and things like that. Because a lot of times I feel our personalities, they don't always match up to like our sexual preferences. I don't feel like
Yeah.
you can really look at someone and just be like, oh, I know what you're like into.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like as you're saying, like the more like comfortable you get with the person, you have a more like desire and willingness to want to explore like outside of the box. So having a space that would like allow you to do that is nice.
Yeah, there's a certain sense of freedom in these rooms. And I think that's the role, like that's the purpose of BDSM in general, right? It's like, oh, can I find freedom through these activities? And yeah, and I was trying to capture that in this idea of mine, the surrender hotel or whatever it is. If we were able to capture that and put that in a way where it will accommodate for anyone who is curious enough to find out more about themselves.
I just had a random thought.
Yeah.
Where I was thinking about like love hotels and being able to express your full desire. Another thing that you probably know very well if you live in Japan is that the walls are thin. The walls are so thin. So even if you live in like very much so if you live in an apartment, you're like people are going to be able to hear what's going on in your space. But I've even noticed like living in other places or being in a house or things like that. Sometimes you can even like hear like your neighbors, or you can hear people, like if you're like walking down the street, you can like hear um in the home. So I also assume that even in your own space, it could probably be a little bit difficult to really let yourself go
Yeah.
in sex, because you are still aware that other people can hear what's happening. Whereas most love hotels, I think, I'm assuming, ones that I have heard about or been told about, it's often like soundproof. So it's like you can go into that knowing that like you can just actually completely like let yourself go and not worry about like the outside world, like when you're in a love hotel. And if you've ever like been in an experience where, you know, you're like having sex and you have to like be aware of your surroundings, it's kind of like hard to really like enjoy yourself, because you have to constantly like rein in your own emotions, um and still kind of put a censor, I guess, on something that doesn't really need to be censored. So I would also like going to a love hotel allows you a more intimate experience, which is interesting to think about. Like you can have a more intimate experience in this love hotel that you're paying to go to for a few hours or a night than you can like in your own home.
That sort of speaks to just how repressed you are within
Mm,
that context. I mean,
mhm.
it's global, right? Like in Japan, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Also
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in global. Like I mean, like if I were to, you know, try to explore this, but then I'm living with my family, for example, obviously this can be near impossible because the
Mhm,
hesitation, the shame, the
mhm,
potential consequences. I don't know. But like if I know there's a place where just paying cash at the counter would let me explore this, I would probably pay it. It's almost like
mhm,
going to a cafe if I have a desire to drink coffee. If I want to drink
mhm,
coffee, I will pay for coffee. It's the same here. If
mhm,
I want to pay for liberation, I will. So
mhm,
knowing that there is a building specifically built for making sure that no one will hear you, no one will look at you, no one will see what you will do, and it will be just you and your partner and both of your bodies together in the room, then that's more than enough grounds to be like, okay, now all the rules of Japanese culture, in this case, right, Japanese culture,
mhm,
will not play a part in any of your actions until morning. So
mhm.
go. Like you will now go. It's like paying for permission almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is quite nice. Seems
Mm,
seems seems pretty good. Yeah.
mhm.
Not that I've like, I mean, I've said I've never been to a love hotel before, but it's like stuff like this is making me want to like miss Japan.
Mm.
it's,
Right, right. You're
it's
like, you
just
know
like it's
what?
just like it's just like convenient stuff like that. It's just wow.
Right.
I
There's
forgot.
a thing for everything.
Yeah. A lot of places around the world, well, they you try to navigate around current systems, but then for some reason Japan is just like, you know, we have systems for your desires,
Mhm,
so you can regulate them here if you want, just pay more money. And people
mhm.
are like, yeah, sure. And even I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, that's perfect. Like I would love
Yeah.
to
Like normally
be.
you would be like, I'm not gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then like the more you like talk about it, you're like, no, wait, actually, that could be a treat.
Yeah, it could be. Plus the hotels look pretty good in general.
And a lot of them really like aren't that expensive.
It's like 6K,
Mm.
4K, 6K yen. So it's like
Yeah.
$40, $60. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're going premium. Unless you're going for the Jurassic Park price
Yeah.
with
You're getting like a
uh,
top tier room.
yeah, let me see if I can find I can't find a price, but like if you're gonna go for like a hyper niche theme, you're gonna have to like take the train and the car there, and then you can finally find it because it's in Oita Prefecture. So, the world of love hotels. It's always a fascinating one. We've talked about the many facets of Japan's relationship with sex in general, from the services to soap lands and shit like that. And then now love hotels in greater detail, of course. It's interesting to me, especially if it's a country with, declining birth rates and everything like that, and celibacy as a choice, right? Just to clarify, celibacy as a choice, which is very like this duality of sex and intimacy in general within Japan. We have this duality everywhere, but the thing is, the duality within Japan in particular, it's so not jarring, obvious. Like it's so out there that it speaks to the uniqueness of the culture, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't see it anywhere else. I don't think I see it in the US, and neither in Europe or Australia. It's almost always like, oh yeah, people have sex. Yeah, stuff happens. Go for it. But
I think it's in how we project ourselves. Like the media that gets released is a controlled thing. It is surprising to me that Japan outright advertises something so personal, but in the States it's a problem too. I personally don't think it's a problem to not be having so many babies, but what I feel is it becomes a discussion more on like capitalism and society and how those things are making it difficult to have families and to get by and things like that. Japan makes it like a sex social problem, like all the people are interacting with each other, when really what it boils down to, same in the States, is that people are not making enough money or have access to enough resources to be able to do those things. It's not necessarily a lack of want or an attack on masculinity or anything like that. It's the fact that we can't provide. Most of us can't even provide for ourselves as individuals. How the hell are you supposed to have a family? And instead of focusing on that and admitting that there is flaws in societies, they make it a more of a personal thing. Like, oh, men should be wanting to have sex and have families, or women shouldn't be wanting to go to work. They should want to have a baby. They put shame on the individual instead of focusing on how we can be better for everyone.
Yeah, the support systems for having a family, when they are lacking, it really drives down the rate. So this has always been like an economics thing, which is a very surprising thing, because like I've had the same questions on this, like why is Japan declining in birth rates, like years ago. So there is this independent publication called the East Asia Forum, and it's these essays on international relations and politics and international studies of specific countries within Asia, and Japan, South Korea, etc., are covered extensively. There's one amazing one written, I think, in 2016 on birth rates. It's not that people don't want to have families. It's because the current systems to support the choice of having a family is lacking. Therefore, to save one's own ass, or to prevent oneself from maybe losing their job or losing their home or losing their basic necessities, they're not going to be having a family. So some governments are like, oh, okay, well, let's just do a subsidy. They're like, oh, let's give you money if you have a kid, but that's not going to pay for all the shit that you need to pay for like 18 years or some shit. Like, that's barely anything. So it's like a dilemma, and I was thinking to myself, like, I don't want to, I don't want to like conclude as like, oh, they're not doing enough, because I'm pretty sure they can, like if you just switch like policies or whatever. But then I was like, okay, well, if they were to try to make it better, how would it work?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more complex, and I can see why they can't change it. But I have a feeling you can do it faster, like small things here and there. Things like, for example, like one really big prevalent problem within Japan. I'm not sure about other countries, but in Japan, is the support for mothers working.
Mm.
So like those like women who want to get back into the workforce after having a child, there's almost like zero support. So not
Mm-hmm.
enough nurseries, not enough schools to help with catering for this,
Mm-hmm.
and not enough support for say single mothers or something like that. It's like these issues pop up, and I feel like they can be easily addressed with a few changes.
Mm-hmm.
You won't get rid of the problem, but you will definitely minimize the problem, like the damage, a lot
Mm-hmm.
faster if you just start off with these baby steps. So, you know,
Yeah.
it,
It's
it, it's
it's a stupid thing. Like I could go on for hours. But like at
yeah,
the end of the day, like it's all about economics, and that's unfortunate. Like having less people honestly wouldn't be that bad for the earth. It just having less people is less people that are spending money, and less people working shitty jobs for nothing, and it affects economy, which is all just a fucking made up fucking system in general. And the more you get into it, the more you see it's all just one big failing fucking system. But you know don't feel fucking shameful for your choices. If like you can't support a child in the way that you would want to, then don't have one.
yeah,
Like, you know, until you're able to comfortably do that for you. Like, don't let the fucking world shame you into making that sort of choice. People know themselves better than the fucking government does. Like, your life, whatever. And also, like, if you just don't like something I feel like they make people feel bad about is people that make the choice not to have sex. I see lots of articles about Japan specifically when it comes to men who make the choice to, live on their own and not engage in any sort of, sex or anything like that. That's their fucking choice. And whatever their reason for that is completely valid. If they just hate people, cool. If they've gone through a bunch of heartbreak and now they've made the choice that they just don't want to deal with relationships, cool. Like, your sexual identity and how you choose to express or not express that is your own fucking business. It has nothing to do with your success as a human being.
yeah,
It doesn't. If you don't want to hook up and you don't want to date and you don't want to procreate, that's your choice. There's nothing to feel bad about.
yeah. The optionality of one's pursuit for relationships, intimacy, and liberation are in abundance right now. So
Mm-hmm.
if you really want to like figure out who you are within that context, so many different choices, and it's like fantastic time
Mm-hmm.
right now. And it
Mm-hmm.
really is, it all just depends on your current conscious choices.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people are willing to support you on that because they've been through similar experiences. And if anything, we have also been through that ourselves, and we're here to help you out. So
It's an ever going process. We're always, changing and growing and learning new things. And how you feel today might be different than how you feel 3 years from now. And it's okay to change up your labels and live your life in the ways that suit your needs that you're going through at that time.
yeah, maybe sooner or later I might actually set up that Surrender Love Hotel with like a cafe at the ground floor, and then you might want to come in and talk about it. Sure, I'd be up to talk
Yeah.
about it. It's like that'd
Yeah.
be a pretty sick thing. Like it'd be maybe just like
Mm-hmm.
a counseling corner or a therapy corner or something. I don't know. But it's
Mm.
when making the choice, know that the burden you carry in making it is similar to others. And when you're hearing about these from others, know that there are people who are well and happy and alive after making those exact decisions that you're contemplating on. If
Mhm.
you're hesitating in terms of maybe telling your family about your preferences, if you're hesitating on making a conscious decision on your stance on having a family, or your choices in being with someone for the night or something like that, the ability to say yes and no are in abundance. And when
Mhm.
you are willing to make the conscious choice of one of them, there's so much to help with justifying that your choice that you will make is the right one, as long as you're not hurting anybody, of course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as long as like your choice is possible, and it's like one thing that you
Mhm.
should be reassured of. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
you wouldn't think we'd get philosophical on a fucking episode about love hotels, right? Like it's just we can't help but be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just who we are as people.
Yeah, and I think that sounds like a really good end note for this episode.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
a foray into the world of the Surrender Love Hotel and Keijoro and Jurassic Park T-Rex sex shit. All kinds of things. I think we're good on there. Is there anything you want to bring in? Otherwise, we are good. All
Yeah, I
right.
think I'm good.
Okay. Enough about sex. We'll leave it to this end of the conversation. Thank you so much for
Mm.
listening to this week's episode of Kanpai Chronicles. Yes, love hotels are not just the buildings where you fuck. The implications are a lot longer, a lot deeper than that.
Mm.
So if you have any
Mm.
comments, any thoughts about us talking about this, leave a comment and maybe the YouTube description, like the comments in the YouTube version of this episode. I think that'd be pretty great. Or you
Mhm.
can email us as well. I think it'd be pretty cool to hear people's experiences. And also anyone who's
Yeah.
starting that blog on sexcapades
Oh,
across
yeah,
Japan,
please.
please,
Or if
please,
one already exists and you know about it, like hook a girl
yeah.
up.
I'll also try to find it as well, just in case there is someone
Mm.
who is willing to write about that publicly. That'd be pretty
Yeah.
cool. But for now, thank you so much for listening to Kanpai Chronicles with your host Norman and
Holly.
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.